most movies you'll see, especially I guess pre 1999, you'll see a lot of inspirational films about coaches and the people that they influence. Movies like The Blind Side and things such as those. I really don't like those movies. Really can't stand those movies. They have a sense of just condescending tone to them. But I do have a story that's very similar to all of that. So, forgive me for going against my own word. If my voice trembles, I have no idea why. It just does it naturally. I used to work at a tattoo parlor. Working at a tattoo parlor is almost akin to getting involved with a motorcycle gang. Once you're in, you're in. But you have to earn your way in. There's no way to just walk in and say, I want to be in this. You have to kind of, as they say, put in work, show your stripes. I started working there 2009. Just graduated college. Didn't want to do anything of any consequence at that moment, so I decided what better way to get money as well as just have fun and work at a tattoo parlor. But it became more than that. I mean, the days do become kind of routine. You hear the everyday stories of people's meanings behind tattoos, why they get certain piercings. But over time, you start to learn a lot more about yourself than you wanted to. When I started there, I was just happy to be somewhere where people ended up knowing my name. I got to wear the cool clothing, got to have all the body art, and I got to get it all for free. And on top of that, I got to get paid. Well, over time from that, I started to slip into somewhat of a anger or depression just working there. Every day going to work seemed to be more and more of a struggle. It became such a struggle that I actually started purposely trying to get fired from there. For some reason, I have no idea why, that seemed like a good idea, because if you get fired from a tattoo shop, you can't collect unemployment on that because you don't get paid regular checks. So once you get fired, you're just pretty much, for lack of a better term, pretty fucked. So there's only things you can do: write a book about it or just keep working at the shop. So I decided to keep working at the shop, but eventually my behavior, my antics had gotten to the point where they were becoming more noticeable. For some of the people that worked there, it was hard for them to try to take a compassionate tone towards someone like myself. It was easier to call me a name and threaten to beat me up than to take me aside and say, this is what you're doing wrong. It took a lot for one guy I worked with specifically. His name was Johnny. His name was Johnny Freeman. If you ever get a chance, you can go visit him. He still works there. He's been working in the tattoo industry since probably they were drawing on each other's skin with rocks and charcoal. He's been there just that long. With that comes an extensive knowledge and also an extensive hatred of everything modern. So he has knowledge of everything. He can help you with everything, but he also hates anything that you ask him about because it is so new and because it doesn't remind him of the old days. Well, one day afterwards, we had, after the shop had closed, we had went and sat in his car, and he was starting to just wonder what was going on with me. And so instead of taking the proactive stance of, I've noticed a few things, he started off with saying, sometimes when people work here, I think it starts to go to their head. And he started talking to me as if he was talking to someone else, while the whole time we knew it was me. So it made it more, I don't know the word, I would guess say more bearable than it would be if, again, he had threatened me and tried to beat me up in the car that night. The one thing I did mention in the beginning was getting in a motorcycle gang. And one thing, if you've ever looked at motorcycle gangs, they have a motto that says, if you really want to get in touch with us, you can give us, again, excuse the language, ass, grass, or gas. With Johnny, grass and ass were mainly the two things you can give him. So that night, grass was heavily in the vicinity. So that conversation came out a little differently, but when we were talking, he said, it's a privilege to work here. It's a privilege to be able to come in every day at 12 o'clock and be able to leave and tell people that you went to work you got to hang out with people, and you got to pierce people, and you got to tattoo people, and you got to get maybe a few free tattoos or free piercings on your own. It's a privilege for you to be able to come in and not have to dress up for work, not have to remove anything. It's a privilege for you to be able to come in and you still have your name and you still are a regular person as well as being employed. And in that conversation, it took so much out of him that it took so much out of me. Just knowing that what he was explaining was one, just on the basic level, how to work at the shop, but on another level, it was like the last of the American outlaws. This is what we do, and for you to be invited in is a privilege to be able to come in. And you coming in every day, even if you're not getting paid, is still something that most people wouldn't be able to say they've done in a lifetime. Even with a college degree, even with a master's, even with the cell phone.
Sorry, y'all.
It's fine, all of that.
Julie got it. We good. Her mom is calling her. She's late for dinner, I think.
You're getting
Was that your mom?
off your person and shit, but
Sorry.
no, you're fine. You're fine. But again, in that story, and just in Johnny taking me and sitting me in the truck, in this red Ford Ranger that he had gotten from his dad, that had a worn sticker that said Bass, but because I was so young and because I wasn't from the country and because he played guitar, I thought it said bass. So every time I looked at him, I was like, it says bass on the back of your car. And he's like, no, dumbass, it says Bass. I'm not going to tell you that more than 3 times. Sitting in the same Ford truck that I had examined over, no radio, so every drive home was the coldest, silent drive home. He basically sat me down and told me, I like you. But with that like, it still comes to my responsibility on your part to make me like you. When you came in fresh face out of college. Now you're all of a sudden, I guess in my case, I thought it was a badass, and he might have sensed that I thought I was myself. But he, again, kind of instilled this hard-edged outlaw outlook on it. On this is the job that you want, because you could be working at her job here. No offense to anybody who does work a job that they may hate. We've all done it. We all still do it. That's why most of us like to write things. That's why we're all sitting here, because we like to write, not do little things. But
You live in a dream world.
we live in a dream world.
Yeah. Life is but a dream.
Yeah, and working there was a dream, and when it ended, the conversation came a little too quick, a little too late, because by that time my attitude was totally out of whack. My work ethic and behavior was out of control. So by the time that lesson, that understanding that I had, that I get to be more than who I went in being, and I get to every day choose to be like this with no repercussions and with no law. By the time that lesson had hit, the damage was done. So I ended up actually getting fired from the shop, but still took with me an invaluable amount of knowledge that probably for someone who didn't have a family and lived out on the streets and everything was as close as it was going to come for me, as tight as it was going to get for me, and probably as caring as they wanted to be. So, kind of going off your story, definitely understand how it feels to be one culture going to another, and the things you learn from there. Yeah, and the things you learn and the things that you take away from there, and how they make you who you are. So, with that said, that was my long diatribe / story.
All right.